Good morning, everybody. Massimo and I are here today, and we were talking prior to the show about hats. Okay, Massimo, you got your Dodger hat. I have to say, I really, all the years of being around sports and doing baseball, basketball, all of that stuff, my all-time favorite hat was a Montreal Expo hat. To me, that was the coolest hat, and the tricolor one with, I still don't know what the little squiggle thing on the top stood for, but hey, it is what it is. But yeah, that was that in the 1979 Pirates hats, which were black. They had gold, the gold P, and then they had circles around them, which was to mimic the old 1800s hats where they all had circles.
Well, you know what? I got a New York Knicks hat that you may like. I'll wear it on the show tomorrow. It's really like bright orange, bright blue, and it's got Knicks sewed into the lid. So it's a one of a kind hat.
Really?
The company it's made by, but
that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I remember the Islanders had during that cup run. The Islanders had a bright orange hat, and then they had. The Islanders logo was stitched in, which I actually had one of those. I lost it, of course.
This one's actually really nice. It's not ugly considering the two colors and the
there's some stuff going on. Speaking of stuff going on, there's all kinds of rumors, and that's all they are right now, as to where some of these people are going. Here's some of the stuff out there. Okay, I'll throw it out there. You tell me. I guess the reason Sean's not here right on time is because he's waiting for Man U to maybe sign Juves. You think?
Yeah, he's I think he's just starting the pre party a little early here. Just wake up and start drinking, start enjoying the day because he's looking at a trip to England after this.
Yeah, you'll get to see these people up close and personal. PSG trying to make a deal with Lyon, and I don't know how that's going to work. Ryan Trick, is it pronounced Trick or Tricky?
Trick. Honestly, some of these names I don't even.
Hekl or I can't quite get it. My apologies. If I ruined your name, Ryan, my apologies.
I honestly, there's some names I even still pronounce wrong to this day. I find that you get into like a rhythm pronouncing a name,
right?
If you've never heard it, and then you find out sometimes years down the road that you've been saying it wrong, and you're like, oh my god, now I need to.
Yeah. I myself try. It's an old broadcast trick, is to write the name down phonetically, and so I could pronounce it, but somebody said. How do you spell, the person's name? Because you pronounce it very well. And I put that, I'm like, I don't know. I just phonetically spelled it out. It looks like Chelsea is hell-bent on selling today. Kai Havertz, 52 million pounds. It's a little on the high side, I think. What do you think?
I don't know if he's necessarily worth that much money. I mean, I didn't think he was terrible. Like obviously he's not their guy. They've been using him pretty much as a striker, and that's not what he excels at. But it'll be interesting. I mean, Chelsea, you'd think they have to start selling. They've spent so much money bringing in players, and you're going to have no room for these players to actually play unless you start getting rid of the ones you have. So
it's always a good idea.
Yeah.
Looks like Brighton is hoping that they can pry someone away from Liverpool. They're eyeing basically both wingers. I don't know what's going to happen there, but Brighton is aggressive.
That's interesting just because Brighton's getting their teams are trying to pick them apart for Caicedo and McAllister, all these other guys. So they got a nice little team there. It'll be interesting.
Well, it reminds me a lot of the trade deadline in baseball, right? Where you've got contracts that you want to get rid of, but you also have players you want to, pick up. So you'll see, people will speculate, well, they're going to be buyers or sellers at the trade deadline, right? And then you could be both, depending upon how you want to play it out, right? So maybe, just maybe, Brighton's playing what you were talking about, where, okay, I know there's people who want some guys, but okay, I can get rid of this guy, bring in this other person, and I'll be happy. I don't know how that factors into the chemistry of the team. When you suddenly bring in somebody else, do you jettison one of the guys that position that you're going to bring in him? I mean, it's all kind of an interesting little puzzle of how you have to massage egos and keep people happy when you make these trades at trade deadline.
Yeah, well, it's an interesting dynamic in any sport, really, right? A guy finds out on the trade deadline that he's not on the team anymore, and they've even had situations in baseball where, the guy literally, he arrives to the stadium with the team and then goes to the opposite clubhouse. I know what happened last season. I forget who the player was, but it's always an interesting dynamic, I think, in any sport, because obviously there's the competitiveness. You don't want to lose your spot to somebody else, right. But then also it's a matter of, you don't know the guy's playing style because you haven't really played with them. Like, I'll give you Man United, Sean's team is a great example. I think Wout Weghorst has really struggled to fit in the lineup right now, and honestly, I think they'd be better off from a chemistry standpoint if they just moved Rashford up to that position and started Garnacho on the left side there. But that's something I've touched upon before. Obviously, they made this signing more. Sean's very convinced it's a stopgap signing, which it probably is. But at the same time, I don't know. You'd think you need to see him play a few more games and get implemented into the lineup more. But sometimes it also just doesn't work out, right? Like, there's situations where give him like a week, and then all of a sudden the team's moving and flowing again. And then there's other situations where the team never just meshes. Like, another great example is the Timberwolves. They made that big trade for Rudy Gobert, and it just hasn't worked. The team's not meshing. They lost a lot of chemistry when they traded Vanderbilt away, and it's just bad situation.
To your point, there's actually a couple of things. Baseball again. Sorry, baseball is one of my sports that I have paid attention to. But in the year in 2019 that the Washington Nationals won the World Series, they were not doing well early in the season.
That was a wild year. Yeah,
and they were out in Los Angeles. And it turns out that Geraldo Parra, who Mike, the general manager, knew very well because he had him in Arizona, and he picks up the phone and he calls Parra and he says, "Look, are you doing anything?" And he goes, "Well, no, I just got cut, from the Giants," which of course Mike knew, but I had to ask. And so he said, "Would you like to come, down and play for us?" And I said, "Sure." Now Parra knew he was not going to play much. But Mike brought him in for two reasons. One, his bat. But second, and probably the single most important thing, was because of his ability to bring the team together in the clubhouse. He was a clubhouse guy. And what that means, for those of you who do not know, some guys in the clubhouse, you walk into the clubhouse, there's music blaring, and they're the DJ, okay? They're making sure everybody's having a good time. They keep everybody loose. Parra, on that evening, that he was traded, he came down, he played the game. He hit a grand slam home run to spark the team to win. But the one thing he did prior, because everybody gets a walk-up song, right? His walk-up song was his daughter's favorite, which was Baby Shark.
Oh,
which will drive you insane if you hear it. The place went nuts. Dodger Stadium, went nuts when he plays, that walk-up song. And because of the Baby Shark and Parra, the Nationals sweep on, win a World Series. And in the in the World Series ring, inside the ring, is a small baby shark in every ring that they have, because his ability to bring people together in that clubhouse was far more important than what he did, as a role player. But you need those superstars.
Yeah, well, we talked a lot yesterday about those clubhouse kind of guys. They have them in soccer too. Like we used Zlatan Ibrahimovic for my AC Milan as an example. That team was trash. He came in though, and it's all about installing the winning attitude, right? It's about bringing the players together to function as one unit, one team. But you also have to install the winning mentality there too. You can't be okay with losing, obviously. But yeah, you get a player with those two qualities, absolutely can turn the whole locker room around.
Well, I mean, a star, and stars can do that too. I remember when the National signed Jason Worth, who had been with the Phillies, and he had been part of the Phillies' success in World Series winning. And he also, though, was a clubhouse guy. And they had just brought Bryce Harper up. And in the first, I think, 3 weeks, Bryce Harper hit, who had never played right field before, was a catcher by trade, but they physically decided they didn't want him to be a catcher, so they made him an outfielder. So he played one season in minors in the outfield. And trust me, when you're talking about playing minor league baseball versus playing the pros, cover an outfield is ridiculous. I mean, because if you watch the ball in a minor league ballpark, and we've all been, a minor league ballpark could be, watch whatever you want to watch. You can see what it is. They don't have a second or a third tier to the stadium, right? So when the ball comes off the bat, you can, depending upon the sky, you can either pick it up or you're at twilight or you're lost. Okay. Well, when Bryce moved to the big leagues, his first 3 games, each time he turned and ran into the wall. I mean, it was like a Wile E. Coyote cartoon. He turned, bang, wall. One night he hit the wall so hard he had to be taken out of the game because he cut himself, smacking the wall. So the next day, Jason Worth, who was a legit star, had taken that tape that you use in a crime scene, I don't know where the hell he got it, and made out on the right field wall, made an outline of Bryce Harper. So when Bryce came out to take batting practice, he had Harper's name was under that against the wall saying, "Stop here." So, again, what is it? It just makes you laugh. It loosens the team up, and it makes it so that, okay, we lost last night. It's not the end of the world. We got another game. We'll play again. But again, those kind of guys, incredibly, incredibly important. A bit of interesting news, and that was over the weekend, the Man U game set an all-time record for NBC. The record was 1.95 million watched the game.
This was the one against Arsenal?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And so it was an all-time record. It was an all-time streaming record of over 800,000 people watched it, on Peacock. And it just was another indication that folks here in the U.S. love soccer. They just don't love bad soccer.
They want the big clubs.
Same in Canada.
Yeah, no, I think that I think you hit it on the head there. That clearly, people want to watch the big clubs. Like, obviously, you're not going to get those kind of views for like a Southampton, Everton,
right? Yeah,
like that.
I mean, for sure.
Yeah, 2 of the biggest clubs in England, and the big thing I think is that they're actually good again, because there's been years where both clubs were garbage. So it's I think that's what you're seeing now. You're starting to see all the Arsenal and the United fans who were hiding in the forest for the last like 10 years because your team was so bad. Now all of a sudden you're coming out of the woodwork and you're like, oh, we're good again. We can watch the games, right?
Yeah. Hey, thanks, Foxy, for giving me the correct pronunciation of turkey.
He knows
Okay?
all.
He's the man.
Guys.
Foxy's the man. Thanks, Foxy. Appreciate it.
Oh yeah, Foxy. Hold on. I want to touch on something, Foxy. You
Go ahead,
you took a shot at me and my Canada during the World Cup about how we have no finish. But man, your Newcastle is adopting those same problems. Clearly, they watched a little too much Canada in the World Cup and liked what they saw. Because real question, Foxy, did Willock forget his cleats at home? Because, like, I don't know why he was wearing those clown shoes out there, but he had so many empty nets. You guys should have won like 4-0 in that match. That was ridiculous. Ridiculous. But good on you. I'm glad you guys won. I was on Newcastle, so I'm happy. I'm happy I cashed that ticket, Foxy. Thank you. Got a little dodgy at the end there.
Things got a little hairy there.
Yeah. Ugh.
Please don't. In an upcoming interview, which will be here on the channel, yesterday I talked to Andy Zimbalist, who is probably the foremost sports economist. I think I don't know if I mentioned on the air, but Andy, when the NBA was taking the team away from Donald Sterling and wanted to put it up for auction, Andy was brought in to decide how much, money the value is. When speaking of baseball, when Manny Machado was a free agent, his agent called up Andy and had him put together a perspective on how he can get the max amount of money out of that. So Andy knows if you need to know something about business and sports, Andy knows. So I brought Andy on. We did a show which will air later in the week, and we talked about the economics of sports and franchises, and Andy was talking about the right now everybody's being held up by two things. One, the Commanders, and what are they going to fetch? And two, this might be news to Sean, but also Manchester United.
Oh, I that's the first time I've heard Man United.
That spunky little team over there.
Is that a thing? Someone's trying to buy Man United?
Right, yeah, it's those spunky little guys. All they can do is just put on those ragtag uniforms, get out there with their old cleats, and just play hard. They don't care if they win or lose, because at the end of the day, it's all about
them. They're getting deep pockets.
It's for the people. It's for the people. That's all they worry about, is playing for the people. So anyway, the numbers are 7-6. Okay, crazy but true. It looks like Man U and the Glazers want anything that's got a 7 in front of it or north of that. Yeah. Take a deep breath.
That's a lot. 7.
A lot of money. There you go.
Yeah, I agree, Foxy. Definitely. Isak, you got a lot more pace down the wings with them. I mean, Almiron's good. He created chances, but I don't know. He got stale after a little while, and it was good to see they were the makers in that one.
Yeah. So the other one is Dan Snyder has a 6 in front of the Commanders. So we will see what we will see. I mean,
I'm sorry, but I don't think the Commanders are worth nearly as much as Man United.
No.
I think to compare the Commanders to a team like a club like that, with like how the history, how decorated it is, like the only real NFL franchises I see competing with English soccer clubs have to be like the Dallas Cowboys, or another franchise of that magnitude. Obviously, I don't want to say the Patriots, just because Tom Brady kind of like made the team for 20 years, and now that he's not there, I don't think they're worth as much.
Well, I think the other iconic franchise would be somebody like the Steelers.
That was the other one I was thinking.
San Francisco 49ers would be in there. they're historically good franchises that have been historically run well, and that I think is it.
It's funny. I actually asked my girlfriend, who doesn't really know anything about sports. I said, I said, America's team is playing this weekend. This is when the 49ers game. I was like, who do you think America's team is? And her answer was the Steelers. Okay. And I didn't think she was going to get it right, but I said, you know what? Not a bad answer, because the Steelers are one of the more popular franchises, I would say.
I'll tell you what, you can go. I'm not gonna. You can go any city that has a professional team, and you'll find a Steelers bar.
Yeah.
Okay. You will find that they are, without question. You go to Paris and see on the streets guys wearing Steelers jerseys or hats or or jackets or any of that stuff, and so. Steelers. I would say Steelers, Cowboys, 49ers. Probably there's your three. Green Bay Packers, I suppose.
Yeah, there's actually one in Rome. Funny that you mentioned that. I saw a special about how Rome has like the oldest Steelers bar in Europe or something like that. Like apparently people they stay up, specifically the bar is open till like 5 a.m. because they know the games are on at like 2 a.m. in Italy, right? And that's their prime time hour. All the Steelers fans go from 2 to 5 a.m. in Italy to watch on the Sunday. Nobody goes to work on Monday.
Right, yeah. God forbid it's a Monday night game.
Really?
So, I mean, there are iconic franchises. I don't think the Commanders are an iconic franchise.
Who've had 3 name changes in the last
I
was actually rooting, the last 5 years.
I was actually rooting that they would keep the name Washington Football Club.
I'll be honest with you. Yeah. It sounds better than the Commanders.
Yeah, I was a little disappointed when the Commanders came out.
Yeah, I thought the same thing you did. I heard they settled on the Commanders, and I said, should have left it the Washington Football Team. It rolled off the tongue better.
Right.
Now, Commanders, I've seen too many funny nicknames with the Commanders.
Well, there's the Commandos. There's the, it goes on. But
there's some bad ones.
Yeah, there's some bad ones, which we cannot repeat here.
But I think those are more of shots at Dan Snyder at the same time.
Oh, yeah, it's 100% shots at Dan Snyder.
And did you see the thing he did back in like week 1? So they settled on the Commanders' name. And then on their first game of the season, they were selling Washington mugs in the stadium with the W logo on it.
Right.
But get this, it was a red W, and it was inside a state. It was supposed to be like, the W's in the state. But guess which state they put the W on the cup?
What?
Washington State.
Oh,
and they were selling mugs in the stadiums. You can go get your Washington Commanders mug with the W in the state of Washington printed on the cup.
Yeah, well, there you go.
I feel like somebody did it on purpose to sabotage.
Well, it's quite possible.
Because that was when like they were really screaming to get Dan Snyder. Obviously, we know they're in the process of selling now, but this was before then. So they were really like, is this guy going to sell or not? We're going to sabotage the team at every corner.
Well, yeah. At first, when he first bought the team, I was a little not upset, but a little, I thought he was being treated badly. And here's why. Jack Hancock, who owned the team, put it in a trust and auctioned it off. Now, his son, John Hancock, who was the president of the club, thought he should be able to just literally take it over. But that wasn't Papa's plan. Dad's plan was, no, this money goes to the foundation. So if you want to bid, fine. You've got an inheritance. You got a whole ton of money. Bid it. Well, he lost out. And so when he lost out, just spitefully for Dan, he didn't let Dan come to the building until they were gone. And so when he left, Dan was held up in a hotel waiting for his chance to come over and see the facility he had just spent $800 million to buy, which also included a stadium, which Cook built. But anyway, to finish the story. So when he got there, they had literally taken the letters out of the typewriters. They had done all kinds of funny stuff. But there was still a staff there, okay? Snyder came in and literally fired everybody on day one because he figured if they are, complicit in this, I don't need this from that. So at first you got this kind of like feeling like, oh, well, there's a picture of him. He's like 10 years old. He's with Joe Gibbs. It's like, oh, well, he's a fan. Give him a little latitude. 4 years in, people began the loathing process. It's like, okay, we got to know him, didn't like him. So there we go.
Gave him the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah, big mistake on our part. So there you go. But it looks like he's going to get rid of the team one way or another sometime soon. And whether it's to Jeff Bezos, we don't know. But hey, we'll figure it out, and that'll happen down the road here a bit. What was I going to say? Today being Wednesday, any good matches out there that we should be looking for?
Yeah, so there's obviously, Sean's match is the headliner today, the Nottingham and Man United, obviously. Now,
well, that goes without saying.
Man United was a cool minus 150 all week, and now that's starting to creep up to minus 163. I'm gonna say Man United probably does the same thing that we saw Newcastle do yesterday, in the sense where they're gonna go out there and try to win the game and take a lead back home for the second leg. I know Newcastle only won 1-0, but if you watch the game, they really tried. They just had some bad finishes, some missed empty nets, but they created a lot of chances. They easily could have won that game like 4-0. So I think you're going to see Man United do the same thing here. They'll probably be able to finish. They have some good goal scorers, and Rashford. I think Weghorst is actually. I don't even know if Rashford is going to start today. I don't think he is, but I'm sure he'll be on the bench. They have a lot of talent. Casemiro will be back in the lineup since he missed the Arsenal match due to his suspension. So yeah, I was even looking at possibly maybe the over in this one, because I could see Man United slipping up defensively and give up a goal, but I think they could also score 2 goals and really put the hammer down on Nottingham here.
Yeah, it's one of those games where you could make an argument for both teams to win, and that's not fun. You're kind of hoping that can't we just figure out one where we don't? So, but yeah, it is what it is. Let's see if we got some interesting more stuff here. Awful announcing just popped into my inbox. And we mentioned yesterday about Let's Get Social, the Dallas Cowboys. This is the Dallas Cowboys official Twitter account. It says Dak Prescott gave away the ball twice in a narrow loss to the 49ers. In a matchup the Cowboys had a chance to win if only they didn't generate self-inflicted wounds. Whoa. That's your people turning on you.
You know what? It's funny because I have this thing. I have this one of my buddies sent me this picture. All right, I'm gonna read it to you. So it had a picture of Tony Romo on the left and Dak Prescott on the right. And basically it said Tony Romo, 2-4 playoff record, 0-3 in the divisional round. And it said Dak Prescott, 2-4 playoff record, 0-3 in the divisional round, carrying on the legacy of failure.
Ouch. So,
But
nobody gets spared on that one. Oh,
yeah,
man.
that's the thing, right? Tony Romo was a great quarterback, but
During the regular season,
not good in the playoffs. And Dak Prescott is looking to have the same
career.
problem. Great quarterback, puts up the numbers, but injury prone and always chokes in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm. It's, this morning, I forget where I saw it, might have been The Athletic. They were talking about where the quarterbacks are going, which of course is now a great parlor game. It's like, where's Brady going? Now they had Brady going to the Raiders. Now that one I don't see. I mean, San Francisco, maybe, but the Raiders in Oakland, in Vegas, man, that's a new one on me.
Well, I think people think because Josh McDaniels is the coach, it's like, oh, it can reunite him with McDaniels.
Never got along with Josh McDaniels.
I know. So that's what I think people are like, oh, and then, he can obviously Vegas is another nice place, but I don't think he wants to, move again, especially when he knows he's not going to play. He's not going to play for another 5 years. Like you're telling me he's going to be 50 years old and still in the league. He's going to break his back at that point.
Oh, but the one and done thing, they have Aaron Rodgers. Get this, they have Aaron Rodgers going to either the Colts or the Falcons, and I'm thinking, why?
First of all, if he's gonna leave Green Bay, the place he's been his entire career, and go to a team for 1 year, he's gonna go to win a Super Bowl, not to a team that has no chance at all to even make the playoffs. Like, come on.
The Colts spit it up twice. I mean, they had opportunities.
People had the Colts in the Super Bowl this year.
Oh man. Well, those people lost a lot of money.
I couldn't believe it. I was like, this is not a Super Bowl roster.
Hell, it's not even division winning roster.
Oh, I saw Matt Ryan he was on the CBS panel on the weekend.
Yeah, I saw that.
And they specifically were like, wait, he's not retired yet. Okay, he's still in the league. And it's like, yeah, he shouldn't be in the league. Just retire and take your CBS money.
Oh man. They had Lamar Jackson going to Atlanta.
Yeah, I can see him leaving.
That one I can maybe see. I can maybe see that one.
Maybe not to the Falcons, but I could see him leaving for sure.
Yeah, I mean, all Bashotti tried to do was give him his money, and he wouldn't take it. So suddenly now he wants Deshaun Watson's money, and that was purely on stupidity of the Browns to give Deshaun Watson that kind of money. I mean, and it's guaranteed, which makes it even worse.
The Browns destroyed the quarterback market in the NFL. They
single-handedly.
And what a Browns thing to do. Like, is there any more like way that could be like a Browns moment? One of the worst franchises in NFL history over the last 20 years, and these guys are just finding ways to muck it up at every turn.
Well, and the way, honestly, that they treated Baker Mayfield, I thought was terrible.
Yeah.
I mean, he played hurt, but no.
He played with a harness for you guys so he could give your team the best chance of winning and make the playoffs. He didn't have to do that. He could have opted out and said, no, I'm getting the surgery. I'll see you next season. And then guess what? He wouldn't have had such a bad season for everybody to criticize and crap on him about. Makes no sense.
Well, I think he would be a steal for anybody who wants a quarterback. And he's going to come relatively cheap on the first, maybe. He's probably going to do a 1 or 2 year deal. So he'll go on the cheap for 1 or 2 years, and then hopefully from his standpoint. Now, I don't know if he gets out of Los Angeles, because Los Angeles doesn't have a quarterback.
Yeah, you don't know what Stafford's going to do.
Maybe, just maybe, Sean McVay, after he comes back from his, time in Tibet or wherever he goes to decide what he's going to do. When they come back.
That's the other thing. I think a team needs to pick up Baker now, because You know, he didn't really get a fair chance in Carolina. Like, I know he wasn't great there, but at the same time, he was pretty much traded near the end of the season, or near the beginning of the season.
Yeah.
The end of the offseason. Okay. Someone's got to pick him up now and give him like a full summer, you know, training camps, OTAs, whatever, get to know the players, get to know the system, and actually have some time to study. Not where like the poor guy gets traded right at the beginning of the season, has to learn this whole new system, and he's got all this pressure on his back because, you know, Cleveland's putting all this crap out about him, right? Then he ends up asking, I guess, to get cut there. And then he has to go get on a plane and ends up playing for a team that wants to play him that night. So he's got to learn a whole nother system in a day.
Well, the funny thing about the Carolina deal, right, is the Browns opened the season against Carolina, and Baker started that game. Literally, the Browns were paying both quarterbacks, the quarterback wearing the Browns jersey and the quarterback wearing Panthers jersey. That's a very Browns thing. If you want to be, it's like, yeah, let's just pay him to get rid of him. And oh, by the way, our opening game is against him. So there you go. I don't see in that division, because that's a very physical division and a good deep division. I don't see the Cleveland Browns with Deshaun Watson coming out of that division as a champion anytime soon.
No, well, look at what the Steelers did with pretty much nothing. Still had a winning season, and then obviously, you know, the Ravens, if they manage to keep Lamar Jackson, are always going to be a threat. And the Bengals clear to be, you know, the dominant power right now in that division. So, yeah, they're going to mountain to climb.
Yeah. And, you know, the thing with Baltimore, even if Lamar doesn't stay, we don't know that, what he's going to do. But even if he doesn't, they find ways to win. And it's usually because of their defense. So, you know, they'll be in the mix. There's no question about that. Pittsburgh, Kenny Pickett. I mean, Kenny Pickett was a lot of people were asking, why'd you do it? You know, why'd you pick Kenny Pickett? Well, I love the Mike Tomlin's line was, you know, I see him practice every day. They play it. They share the same practice facility. One half of it belongs to the University of Pittsburgh. The other half belongs to the Steelers. I'm pretty sure at one point in time they, you know, crossed paths in the building. So, you know, you can't ask for a better way to watch and look at a quarterback and evaluate, is this kid going to be somebody we want to draft? I think so. We see him better than anybody else and more than anyone else. So he sees him play and he sees him in practice. So there's that. And I think toward the end of the season, Pickett was starting to get, you know, his rhythm in Pittsburgh. And so we'll see. But, yeah, it's a crazy situation from that standpoint. Tennis-wise, looks like Joker's setting up for a big shake.
Don't remind me. He kicked my Rublev out.
Sorry,
I had Rublev to win the whole tournament, Jim.
I'm sorry.
I was so close. But I still have Karen left, and at least Karen won't see Djokovic unless it's in the final.
In the final, yeah.
I have a little bit of hope left.
Well, you know, you can't win if you don't have somebody in the pool. So he's in the pool right now. So we'll take that.
I have nobody left on the women's side because Magda Linette beat Pliskova last night. Couldn't believe it.
Yeah, there's witness relocation program people in the women's finals. They're not. Are they top? I don't think they have a. I'm trying to think. They don't have a top 5 in there, do they?
I don't think so. Right now, the semifinal is Azarenka Rybakina, and then I guess Linette versus who won the Vekic Sabalenka. I'm not 100% sure.
I'm not.
Sabs win that?
Yeah. I think, I guess purely on history, you'd have to give Azarenka a little slight edge, but she hadn't played that much recently.
I think Sabalenka is probably the best woman left in the tournament.
Mm-hmm.
If we're talking purely based off skill and what they've done throughout their career, I think Sabalenka is probably the best one. But I've seen her choke so many times. Like, I stopped betting on her last year because she was terrible. It was almost like I noticed it was the year Barty retired. Sabalenka had an extremely down year that year. And I think the reason was because that year, right before Barty retired, every final in every little minor competition, it was always Sabalenka versus Barty, Sabalenka versus Barty. So I think when Barty retired, that was almost Sabalenka's motivation to be better, because it was always like, I gotta beat Barty, right? Like I gotta beat her in these finals. And like, I don't know, she just had a bad year, but now she's playing better. So, you know, maybe she goes on to win something for once. So it'd be nice to see.
Yeah. I mean, the other thing too is she's one of those people, Azarenka can do that same thing, where they get out to an early lead and then all of a sudden the wheels come off. And you're wondering, is it a mental thing? Because physically they played well the first few sets, and now, you know, we're in trouble. And how do we get there? And you know, so sometimes it's psychology.
Well,
Sabalenka,
Sabalenka,
overthinking things.
It's definitely a lot of mental game with Sabalenka. I've seen her unravel many times where she'll be controlling a match, and then, you know, a few bad shots, starts smashing the racket around, and then she just gets in her own head. And once she's in her own head, she can't serve, and that's the end of her.
It's, you know, there's a lot of guys who have that same problem.
Yeah.
You know, where they start, the wheels start coming off, they start making unforced errors, and, you know, all of a sudden they're gone because they just physically and mentally can't keep with it. That's where you look at a guy like a Nadal or a Djokovic or obviously Federer, where they would play a bad first couple of matches, but that's okay, because they knew they could play 5 and basically mind work you out. So it's you know, it's a crazy situation when you got a guy like Djokovic. I mean, you just want to see that. You like watching Djokovic, but you and I talked about this before. It's also good to see young guys who can come up and challenge them and beat them. You know, you don't want to see Djokovic win every time that he steps on the court, or Nadal or anybody. You want to see competition. It's much more fun.
Yeah.
It reminded me of golf when it was Tiger versus the field. You know, I liked watching Tiger play. I mean, I appreciated his abilities and all that. But, you know, let somebody else win from time to time. You know, it would be nice. And now we've got, you know, golf where it's, you know, you've got probably 10, 20 guys on any given week who can win a tournament. And that's good for the sport to be able to have a high level. I mean, you got your Rory McIlroys, you know, Justin Leonard, guys like that. But, you know, on any given weekend, you can you know, see somebody else winning. So, and this week they're stateside down in San Diego. So that'll be a fun opportunity to see some golf beginning tomorrow. They'll be stateside over at, I think it's La Jolla they're playing tomorrow. Down in just north of San Diego, a little bit south of Orange County. And for those of you in that part of the world who want to go and watch, that'd be good. They move up to Riviera, which is the country club that it's not really in Beverly Hills, but it's kind of in Beverly Hills. It's more close to what they call the Pacific Palisades. The interesting part of that course is what it is known for that have nothing to do with golf. There's all kinds of things that happen there. Not the least of which was a time when Katharine Hepburn was playing on the 7th fairway, and she was supposed to be playing, you know, against another actor who, for whatever reason, didn't show. Well, it turns out that the actor flew a plane, landed the plane on the 7th fairway, just so he could catch up to with Katharine Hepburn. So there's those kind of you know, those kind of stories that make that course. Which, by the way, if you have an extra $275,000 that you would prefer just to park somewhere, you can join Riviera Golf and Country Club. Sean Penn, by the way, in a contract he had done for a movie he was doing, that was one of the deals. They had to get him into to Riviera Country Club. So, it is what it is. I kind of like the AT&T Pro-Am up in the San Francisco Bay Area, which actually technically not, it's on Monterey. But, and you see Bill Murray and guys like that, playing in those tournaments.
Yeah.
Those are fun to watch. But speaking, we were talking about Tony Romo a little while ago. Tony is a fantastic golfer.
Is he?
Yeah. He's almost a scratch golfer.
Really?
Yep. And
maybe he should have stuck to PGA instead of NFL. He might have actually won something.
He might have, yeah. He would, he liked guaranteed cash with Dallas, but
yeah.
There's that. But yeah, it was it's pretty wild. I mean, and Jim Nance, who was his partner, Nance actually went to the University of Houston on a golf scholarship and played on a University of Houston golf team with Fred Couples.
Well, he does like all the tournaments pretty much that CBS covers. Jim Nance is there.
Nance is there.
Yes, they work him to the bone.
Hardest working man in broadcasting.
Oh yeah,
he'll go. I remember,
legend, though. Living legend.
Yeah, I love Jimmy. He's a good guy, tremendous guy.
Oh yeah.
Just one. When he says, he opens the broadcast by saying "Hello, friends." That's kind of Jim's tagline. That actually, Jim's father passed away 10 years ago, maybe, of Alzheimer's. And when Jim would go to see his father, his father couldn't remember names, but he would say this thing over and over again. That was, "I have lots of friends." Because Jim would say, "Did somebody come see you today?" He'd say, "I have lots of friends, lots of friends." So, as a tribute to his father, because his father could watch, him on television, but unfortunately couldn't remember much, he started the process of saying, "Well, hello, friends," which then his father could pick up on. So that's where the hello, friends came from. And good dude, wonderful personality, fantastic broadcaster, who is not, he used to do the Final Four and the championship game and then roll right into the Masters. And he's given up the call of, I think that's Ian Eagle's going to get that, to take the NCAA tournament, and he'll just go from football to the Masters. So not a bad life.
I was going to say it's a lot doing the football, then the basketball, and the golf every now and then. You got to throw a weekend of that in.
Well, once CBS gets out of football, they really don't have, other than the NCAA tournament, they really don't have any more major stuff going on. They don't carry baseball and all that sort of thing. So Jim is pretty free to be the golf guy at that point.
Monday Night Baseball on CBS? No?
Probably not. And if it is, it's not going to be Jim. So,
can you imagine if there was just one Monday Night Baseball game?
Yeah, that would be difficult. There used to be Monday Night Baseball on ABC. And what they would do is they'd roll out of, the season of the NFL, and then a couple months later, they would start Monday Night Baseball. And they had Monday Night Baseball, I think, for 4 years before they decided this is not, people aren't watching us. They're just not seeming to want to see us.
Nobody wants to sit down after a long day of work and watch a baseball game for some reason.
Well, there's that, and they thought it would be clever to bring Howard Cosell into that. It wasn't. It was an idea that didn't seem to work. His famous thing when Tim McCarver was doing color, McCarver explained, there's a ball hits at the third baseman, he throws it to first, he's out. McCarver, who at the time kind of overanalyze things. Explains the throw over and all that, and to which Howard looks up and says, I'm sitting here watching the same thing you, Tim. Looked to me like a ball rolled to the third baseman, you pick it up to the first base. So doesn't really need a lot of analysis in that regard. So, it's true, Howard. You're right. It doesn't, but he has to justify why it's there. So anyway, but see, and ABC had Monday Night Baseball for a while. And then they didn't. So there you go. Do you have any favorite? I mean, I have a theory, and guys, if you're out there, you want to weigh in. People don't tune into a game for the broadcasters, okay? Because a good game is a good game. But bad broadcasters can make a good game sound bad or feel bad because you're like, you sometimes get distracted by their stupidness, and you're sitting there going, stop, just take a deep breath. People can see this. You don't have to overdo it. And you guys had some fantastic broadcasters in Canada.
Yeah, so I'm gonna falsify your theory there.
Okay.
Because I've actually heard that quite a lot. People make the argument that people won't tune in for a commentator.
Hey, go ahead.
But I disagree with that because I can say from a personal standpoint,
Fair enough.
if you told me, for example, the Houston Texans were playing the Tennessee Titans on Thursday Night Football, or I could go watch two high school teams that I've never heard of play football against each other, but the commentators Al Michaels and Chris Collinsworth, I'll go watch the high school game over the NFL.
Fair enough.
But it's very rare. It has to be specific. But yeah, absolutely. I would watch for Jim Nantz and Tony Romo. I would watch for Al Michaels and Chris Collinsworth. I'm disappointed that they're not together anymore, obviously. But
Herb Street isn't bad.
Yeah, Herb Street is really good, actually. I see him do the college games too on Saturdays.
So Herbie's not bad, and he does a good job. And look, Al Michaels, love him, and he does a fantastic call of any sport. Doesn't matter what it is. He does a great call. What about Don Cherry? What are your thoughts about him?
I don't know. My parents liked him because they grew up watching, Hockey Night in Canada, the Coach's Corner, all that stuff. But I don't know. Like, to me, he was popular on TV when I was like just growing up, like, age like 7 to 10. And to me, it was kind of just like, it was just a lot of loud noise to fill the first intermission.
Yeah.
And one thing I always took away from it was he keeps cutting Ron McClain off, and Ron McClain looks like he wants to slap him. Wants to slap the design off of that suit. You know what I mean? Like, that was all I picked up, is that McClain never really liked him.
Yeah, I'm not sure that they were buddies off camera, it's like, which is kind of what happened with Coach Sell and Michaels and am I blanking on Frank Gifford. One day I'll tell you what. One day I'll make you all a deal. We'll have Bob Goodrich on. Bob at the time was the producer of ABC Monday Night Football. Wrote a book, which was then turned into a movie about the chaos on Monday Night Football. But we'll get Bob on and let him talk a little trash about. He doesn't mind talking trash now that Howard's dead, but he wasn't going to do it when he was alive.
Wow.
But Bob Goodrich is a good guy and a good producer, and it's funny you watch some of that stuff. No, look, I do. There are some guys that Brent Musburger used to be good on college football because he knew the stories, so he was a good storyteller. So there were times I would watch a game, but for the most part, I'm like you. It had to be the right group. And during COVID, when they weren't playing sports, Joe Buck, if you sent Joe Buck your, your high school football game that you're just talking about, or Blue League baseball, if you send it to him, he would do a play-by-play on it and send it back to you. So
that's nice.
That I thought was hilarious. That here's Joe sitting in his, sitting in his office at home and watching these games, had the rosters on there, and then you get a Joe Buck called, game of whatever the game was. And I thought, good on Joe. I mean, he had nothing to do, and it wasn't like he was charging anybody for it. But he had fun doing it, and obviously, I would think that the person who got the video back was quite pleased too.
Yeah, that's really good for him. That's really nice of him, and I think at that point, it's a matter of like, the guy makes so much money,
sure,
and obviously he's busy because he's got to do all the traveling and stuff,
right,
to the games and stuff. But yeah, during that time period when he was pretty much probably doing nothing, like it's not like he needed to go out and find a job. Like he could just sit at home until
sports, anyway.
Yeah, until sports came back, you just sit at home. So I think at that point, I could see him actually wanting to do it, because it's almost like, after a month or two into it where you've had no sports, you just feel deprived and you want something. So watching like a little league or these high school teams play is like amazing to you. It's like, oh my God, someone's playing sports somewhere at least.
When you figure Joe's been broadcasting for 25 years.
Yeah.
Joe came in, 24 years old. So, he was very young when they hired him at Fox. And now, 25 years later, like you said, it's like basically you're sitting there going, what do I got? What do I got to do? I had nothing to do today. So somebody send me a tape. I'll watch it. I'll comment, I'll do the play-by-play on it and send it back. So
yeah, and that's how they really like sports.
Right. And also that Joe gets a lot of grief from a lot of people, and I have no idea why. But
I like him. Like, I mean, I feel bad because I prefer to watch the Manning cast.
That's okay.
But that's just because I love the shots Eli takes at Panning, or I combined Peyton and Manning. At Peyton, I love all the forehead jokes, the whatever. You bring it on, right? They're hilarious. But yeah, when they're not on, I mean, I don't have a problem listening to Joe Buck and Troy Aikman. They're great. Yeah. They're great at what they do.
It's funny if you watch the MLB network, what they do on the MLB network is they'll go to a cut-in to a game, and they'll they will not take the live broadcast announcer for some reason. They just take the video and they'll sit there and talk about, they'll talk you through this, right? And so, any number of guys are there. I remember Harold Reynolds one evening saying, well, you know what? This guy, he was talking about the pitcher. This guy always tries to bury, a slider. And he goes, and to this hitter, he says, forget it. It's not going to happen. He's got to think, fake it. Make it look like that's what you're throwing, right? So the next pitch, of course, I mean, we know what happens, right? The next pitch is hit into, another county. I mean, it just planted. And then Harold jumps up and goes, see, I told you. See, I told you. And so they would run around and go this. And they do this constantly on game after game after game. So they decided to do what, like you're talking about, the Manning cast, where they did a broadcast on a Thursday night, just them sitting in these, lounge chairs and watching the game as four guys would do, and ragging on guys when they make mistakes, talking about how this guy thinks he's unhittable, but I could hit him. Talking about this batter who, is having a hell of a game, but if I were pitching, that would never happen. And so it's fun sometimes to get away from the traditional and see something, like you and your friends would be doing the same thing if you were there watching the game.
It's great. It's definitely
about the play-by-play. It's about, how would I react? And so you're getting that reaction. And they get some fun guys that drop by just for, grins and giggles. Some of the guys who are playing right now, probably some of the guys they criticize if they were watching, although, I bet you some of those players want to be singled out by Peyton and Eli. You know, because if it, you know, for the most part, they don't particularly, you know, give players grief, right? They usually have some sort of, you know, mechanism that they think it's fun. So, you know, I think that being part of something like that's a lot of fun to watch. So I can see where you want to watch the Manning cast. It's
I don't like the guests though.
they're entertaining, folks.
I'm
I
not a
like
fan
Charles
of
Barkley on the NBA. I mean that group. On the NBA, they're just hilarious, and Danny Roulier. I'll bring it tomorrow. I'll put it into the Danny Roulier, who's a broadcaster here in Washington, does a great Charles Barkley impersonation. So much so that they asked him to be on the show to interview Chuck as Chuck.
Oh my God.
And so it is absolutely hilarious. I'll bring it on tomorrow. We can watch a few minutes of Chuck being interviewed by Chuck.
Oh my God.
So there's that. They also did a Cartoon Network thing on with Kenny the Jet and Kenny. And this was back when Kobe was alive. It was a bit. Kobe supposedly in his shoe commercial jumps up as a car goes under him and then lands down. We know that was never happening. So this is Kenny's take on that, and they work with the Cartoon Network to make this happen. So yeah, that's a thing where you get so much more enjoyment out of the pregame and postgame show than you actually may get out of the basketball game. But there's that. All right, boys and girls, I'll tell you what. Amedeus, anything you'd like to tell the class before we leave?
Yeah, you know, if you're from my area, just stay inside, stay dry, stay
Bad weather.
safe. It's always snowstorm coming. It's snowing hard outside right now. So
well, we're getting rain here, so
yeah,
it's always good to stay
not
safe.
Supposed to stop till like midnight too. So you know, just gonna be snow all day.
Well, you know, it's a good day to hide. There you go. Sit back and watch soccer or anything that happens to be on. Well,
watch the Bundesliga.
That's true. Can't watch the Australian Open because it's in the middle of the night there. So that's not going to happen.
I woke up. I was like, all right. Rublev starts at 4 a.m. I'll wake up at like 7 or something. Maybe I can catch the tail end of the match. Nope, got his clock cleaned before I could even wake up.
It was a quickie.
Yep, 3 sets. It's like 6-1, 6-2, 6-4. Like it wasn't even close either.
So yeah, that you're right. 6-1, 6-2. Oh, man,
no one stopped.
Can't stop the bleeding. So anyway, all right. Everybody have a great day. Stay safe, my friend. And we'll probably hear from Sean tomorrow about all the pickups that Manchester United made. And hey, good on them if they can find somebody. So until tomorrow, from Amedeus, I'm Jim. Take care, everybody. Have a great day. And thanks for joining us. Come back. We really like you.